Hi everyone, welcome back to Talk Tottenham. Let's look ahead to Spurs' trip to Anfield to take on Liverpool. We're still fresh from that horrible performance at Chelsea. Losing at the Bridge is never nice, although we really are getting used to it. The performance was just lethargic. It was just lack of commitment, lack of fight, lack of energy, lack of ideas, lack of creativity. You could argue, even though we got smashed at Newcastle, we've had some other bad performances, this was right up there with the worst. Because Chelsea were depleted, they really didn't have much direction, they've had a horrible season, and we just couldn't perform. If you want more reaction analysis on that game, I'll leave the link in the description below. But we're going to focus on how we move forward now and how we tackle a huge task in going to Anfield and facing Klopp's Liverpool for the last time before he leaves in the summer. Now, on the team news, Ange really didn't have much to offer in the press conference, and that's understandable because there hasn't been a full training session between the match and the presser. So he said, though, that there were no obvious new injuries, there's no specific concerns he has of the fit players from before, and he hopes that our available players will all be fine for selection against Liverpool. So that means that, of course, we're without all three left backs, Udogie, Davis and Sessegnon. We're without backup keeper Forster. We're without Manor. We're also without our lone forward Timo Werner for the rest of the season too, and we have to see whether he's played his last game for Spurs or Spurs will make the move permanent in the summer. So on how we tackle this match at Anfield, none of the players really shone at the Bridge. There were some exceptions though. Our centre-half pairing did look quite good. Romero and Van de Ven both performed reasonably well, especially in comparison with the rest of the team. There weren't really any other positives in terms of individual performance, apart from one player, Giovanni Lo Celso. Now, he only had a few minutes off the bench. He was our last substitution, barely had any time, and yet he actually created 3 chances, which were the most of any of our players for the whole match. So, if we're picking off form, I really hope that Giovanni Lo Celso gets the chance to show us what he can do from the start. Maddison was dropped for the last game, so one would assume that he'd come back into the team, especially as his replacement in the 10-year-old Kulusevski didn't do anything special. Maddison had a little impact on the game. He added some energy. He tried to search for the forwards. He tried a few balls into the front lines. Nothing really came off. He had a chance from the edge of the box and he smashed it over. So his indifferent form continued. So you'd hope, based on merit, Lo Celso would get a start and get the chance to show what he can do for a whole match. Apart from that, you'd expect Vicario in goal. You expect Porro at right back, Romero and Van de Ven at centre back. A lot of people, again, are shouting for Dragusin to start, and I get that. Dragusin must be slightly regretting his decision to choose Spurs over Bryan right now, with the player that we shipped out to Bryan after they lost out to Dragusin and Eric Dyer, starting, performing well and shining in Champions League semi-finals, while Dragusin's sitting on the bench for Spurs and can't win anything and looks like qualifying for the Europa League instead. So he must not be feeling great. But again, I can't see Dragusin coming in if it means Van de Ven is playing at left back. Van de Ven and Romero, like I said before, were 2 of the only shining lights in the match for us. Van de Ven's recovery pace was really needed at one point to clear the ball just as it was about to go in. He wouldn't be in that position if he's playing at left back. He'd be expected to bomb forward and turn up in number 10 positions, which really also isn't his game. His game isn't about having possession in tight spaces. Now, I know people are going to say, well, that's not Emerson Royale's strength either, but taking one of our most important players all season, putting him out of position, to a position where he's not going to perform at that level I just can't see Ange doing it. So I really do think Romero and Van der Ven keep the centre-half partnership. Yes, Dragusin could come in a back three, but I can't see Ange changing his principles, even though that would give us greater height and physicality in our big weakness set pieces. I still can't see it. So for me, Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven picks itself. And at left back, yes, Emerson didn't perform well. But if you're saying Van der Ven's playing centre back, what other choices do we have? All our three left backs are injured. He's not going to do something experimental where he plays midfielder, because of course the left back will invert into midfield, but they have to deal with the wingers up against him, and that could be, he might be dropped, but it could be Mo Salah up against him. So to experiment there with a midfielder there that can invert, I just can't see it happening. He'll play Emerson Royale left back. Midfield, apart from Lo Celso that showed a little bit of quality in those few minutes at the end, none of our midfielders, and they're all available, which is just crazy. They're all available and none are on form. Maddison was dropped last game because of his form. Kulusevski took the 10 role and didn't impress. Bissouma and Sarr started, didn't look that great and were subbed off. Hojbjerg and Bentancur came on for them and again didn't show much. Hojbjerg actually collided with Son, who was trying to clear the ball off the line for the second Chelsea goal. Also, we got Oliver Skipp, who had a slight injury before, but was back on the bench. He hasn't even been picked in matchday squads of late, even when he has been fit. So picking midfielders there is, even though we're spoilt for options in terms of availability, in terms of form, there's not much there. So it would just be, I would assume Ange will just go on what he sees in training. Who's performing the best? Ahead of the Arsenal match, he did say his selection based on that midfield was based on the midfield, based on how we performed in training. So I think he'll just do the same again. Whoever looks liveliest in training will get given the chance. If I'm predicting Ange's team, and as I said, I just think he's just going to go off training performances, because there really isn't much to go off in the matches. I believe he's just going to go for Bissouma, Sarr and Maddison, go back to his favourite midfield three and hope that they show some form finally. If it was me, though, I wouldn't do that. I think you have to play Lo Celso there, and really the rest is anybody's. Nobody really deserves to start, but someone has to start in midfield. So I'd go with Lo Celso and Maddison, and then I'd anchor it with Bentancur. That's what I would do, because we know the Champions League is gone now. We're not going to qualify. We've got Europa League football next season. Let's have a bit of excitement, a bit of enjoyment, and have some creative players on the pitch. It's so frustrating when we get possession and there's just no cutting edge passes. We saw Ange go crazy last game, screaming for them to pass forward. At least then, if you've got Lo Celso and Maddison, I mean, Lo Celso works hard. Okay, he's not a defensive midfielder, but he does work hard and get stuck in. If you have those two there, you'd hope there is some creativity, there is some link up between the two, and we can have some actual forward through balls. We know Liverpool are not going to sit back like Arsenal did with a low block and just stop our creativity. They're going to go for it. They're going to press, they're going to play with high energy, and they're going to leave gaps. They always do leave gaps, but it's, do we have the quality to exploit those gaps? So for me, that's what I do, but I do think the team on the side here, I think that's what he's going to go for in midfield. And then for the forward line, we know there's no Werner and there's no Solomon. So there's less options to pick from there. Let's see if we deem Richarlison fit enough to start again. Of course, it was his first start since injury against Chelsea. It's a short turnaround to Liverpool. I would love to see Richarlison start again. I think at our best this season, it's been with Richarlison as a battering ram and allowing Son from the left. Son has performed well at times through the middle. We know he can be clinical, and if the service is right, his runs in behind can be devastating. But when our midfield isn't quite functioning at its best and we're grinding out results, that happened best when Richarlison was playing as the 9, doing the dirty work and allowing Son the ability to run in behind him from the left-hand side. That's what we hoped to see at Chelsea. We just didn't see it. Didn't get enough of the ball to Son. Richarlison couldn't get enough of the ball either. We basically lost a game, apart from in set pieces, of course, in midfield. Our midfield just didn't shield the defence and couldn't find the front 3. So I would hope if he's fit enough, we'd go Richarlison as the 9 and Son as the left. If he's not, then Son will play through the middle again. And then on the right, if Richarlison's fit enough and he plays through the middle and Son on the left, you're left with 1 out of 2. He's not going to start Hill. It was a surprise he even brought him on as a sub. And to be honest, I'd just love to see Mikey Moore play. Like I said, we're not really playing for anything right now. Give the kids a chance. Let's see what they can do. And what's the worst that can happen? That they don't play that well, we take them off and it's a great experience for them, whatever happens, really. So I would love to see him at least get minutes off the bench. That was the only positive thing, was to see him on the bench and the experience he had, at least being on the bench, being in the dressing room, training with the team, training on the side of the pitch, the fans singing his name. That was fantastic. That's the only thing that I can take real enjoyment from that match. So I would love to see him get minutes, maybe from the bench. That would be amazing. If we won't see Ange throw a curveball and play a Moore, for example, on one of the wings, then it's a straight shot between Kulusevski and Brennan Johnson, really. Like I said, if Son's fit, he'll play from the middle, and Kulu and Johnson will play on the wings. If so, Kulu showed a bit of form in the last couple of games, not against Chelsea, but against Arsenal. He was one of our better players. Brennan Johnson before that was one of our form players, actually. I was surprised he got dropped for the North London derby. With the way that Liverpool play, such a high line, they're so open at times. You've got to play your pacey players against them, really. As long as the midfielders can find them, you want your pacey players. If your midfielders are off form and can't find them, and someone like Kulusevski that can create and find a pass for Son, for example, might be more effective. But we have to hope that midfield can compete. So I'm going to go for Johnson on the right wing to get him behind that really aggressive high Liverpool line. In terms of Ange, he just needs to get to the end of the season now without any more embarrassments in terms of performance or results. Let's just get to the end of the season, accept that we're going to be in the Europa League next season. Let's have some performances, some semblance of what we saw at the beginning of the season to give us optimism for next season. Ange knows there's a massive job still to do. He wouldn't have been fooled, and he wasn't fooled at the beginning of the season with our great form. He was telling us as fans, enjoy it, guys, enjoy it. I'm not going to tell you to not to dream, but he never was fully. You could see he wasn't naive enough to think that his work had been done over a pre-season and everything was amazing now compared to the season before. He needs to get to the end of the season. Let's not have anything else embarrass us. Let's get there and let's give him the backing from the fans and from the board to get the players he needs. We all got caught up in Ange-ball at the beginning of the season and how well our players were playing, but I think now we're truly seeing the inconsistency from the players that we have and the amount of time it still needs for the players that Ange is going to deem good enough for him to adapt and learn the way that Ange needs to play in this very open, aggressive way of playing. And we need the time to get rid of the players that can't adapt to Ange and get the players in that he needs. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and come on, you Spurs.